Wouldn't you like to get away? I don't drum. Hey, welcome everybody to the Pewtercast presenting Ren's Training Camp Journal. And I got to tell you guys, I am so excited to get out to training camp, a place where I want to say everybody knows my name, but they might not. I don't know. But I'm super duper excited. I haven't had a chance to be out there, but Ren, who is with me tonight, Ren Daxt, you were at training camp physically today, and you have been tracking everything that has been going on with training camp. Today is going to be a little bit of a different show here on day 3 of Ren's Training Camp with Journal, because so far you've just kind of been collating everything that's come out that we've seen from everybody else. And now you actually got to be there to take us through it. So, man, I am super excited for you. How you doing tonight, Ren?
I'm good, man. Thanks for asking. I will admit that, 6:30 came very early for me today.
6:30. You were out at 6:30?
That's when I woke up.
Whoa.
But that's early for me.
And you went to bed at because I know you go to bed late. Like, you go to bed so late it's early.
Here's how stupid I was. For some reason last night, I decided to, Cheryl and I, my girlfriend, we decided to go out. And the next thing I know, we sort of look down at our watches or phones or whatever, and it's like 2:15 in the morning.
Oh.
And we're not even home yet. So I probably did not get to sleep close to 4. So that's why 6:30 came really early today. But since it was first day of training camp, it was like a kid at Christmas. It doesn't matter how much sleep I did not get. So I jumped out of bed and jumped in the shower, got dressed, and off I went. Off I went to opening day for the fans. First time besides the military that everyone had a chance to go out there and see their Buccaneers.
That's awesome. And I will 100% confess to being a little bit jealous. Although today, I got to tell you, I was a little more than an hour away from where you guys were. Normally I'm a little bit further away, but we were down there. It was with the family this weekend in Orlando at Disney. Was mostly a pretty good trip. And we had a little bit of bug strike the hotel room. Not really the hotel room, more the family. My kid brought in punk.
Little punk.
Old punk. But no, it was fine. So, all right, Ren. Well, I'll tell you what, man, we'll go ahead and kind of do all the housekeeping pieces. I want to say hello to the people who are joining us live in the Mixlr chat room tonight. Our InstantCast platform is live. You guys are awesome. We will open up the phone line here a little bit later for anybody who may be listening live who wants to call in, or people who are on YouTube watching live, because that's right, we have expanded what our platform is. We are still experimenting. I actually came across some new software earlier today. Ren, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this whole lot, but some things that are going to help us make this feed look fantastic. So I'm super excited for what we're going to be able to do, but several viewers in YouTube, I see several people listening with us in Mixlr. So hello to everybody there. I'll let you guys know when the phone line opens. You guys know the drill with that. When it does, we only have one line. We say keep it PG-13-ish. I'm not going to edit it though. And just talk. We'll see what you guys have to say. So we have that going on. With YouTube though, I do want to just kind of, if I could give a personal plea to everyone out there. Most of you will be listening to this later on the podcast feed. You're going to listen to it later tonight. We are recording on Sunday night, as it were. Some of you will probably be listening to this Monday morning, maybe Monday afternoon, whenever you're listening to this. If you guys could do us a favor, go over to YouTube, and right now you've got to search for the Pewtercast. And that's one word, Pewtercast. And go in there, do us a favor, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to get notified of when we go live, just click the little bell. But what really matters right now is subscribing to the channel. And here's why. Currently, in order to go to find us on YouTube, you have to go and search for us, because currently our URL is something like youtube.com/channel/capital U lowercase c EX -321 exclamation point, question mark, 4, 8, 9, 12, 13, hallelujah. Like, it's weird. You know what I'm saying?
That's
We
the
could make that.
abbreviated version.
Yeah, that's the Bitly version. In order to make it just really simple and just have it say youtube.com/thepewtercast, the magic number is 100 subscribers. So we're looking to get to 100. We're already at like 73, I think was the last time I saw. So we're pretty close, guys. Like, we're really, really close. But if you guys are listening to this, even if you don't plan on watching us on YouTube throughout the season, do me a favor, go over there and subscribe anyway. It won't take you but just a second, and that'll help get us up there, really for just the purpose of making it easy for people to find us, making it easy. Just say, hey, just go to youtube.com/thepewtercast, and then people will be able to find us right away. So if you guys could do that, I'd really, really appreciate it. But like I said, while you're there, if you want to get notified as soon as we go live, just click the little bell. The people who have jumped into the Mixler chat room, you guys got notified probably because you got an email because you subscribed to the channel here and you're like, hey, Pewtercast is broadcasting right now. So just a little housekeeping there. So thank you guys for doing all of that. Ren, my friend, I have been waiting all day long. I did not get a chance to follow much of anything on social media. I have seen no press conferences. I know nothing about what happened except somebody got injured, and I'm not even sure who that is. So this is more than just, hey, here's everything that happened on the field. This is you, a fan in the stands, taking those of us who did not get to go to Pewtercast to training camp and kind of put us in the seats, like visually in our heads. So start us off, man. Talk to us about training camp. How was it today? Today was the first day in pads. It was the first day that was open to the public. I think yesterday they were open to the military, but this is the first day they're open to the public. So I know tickets were sold out. So take us through it, man. I want to hear it. Like, talk to us about training camp. How was it today?
Yeah, sure. Welcome everybody on Mixler and YouTube, and if you're listening later from the podcast, thank you very much. I guess the biggest difference when if you've ever been to training camp before from what they did last year, there was a lot of construction going on, and sort of like the gates where they let you in as far as like members and suite holders is a different gate from VIP, which is a different gate from the general public. But now there's sort of this iron fence that's probably about 8 feet high that surrounds all of One Buck Place. Before it wasn't there before, they had like the chain link construction fence, very permanent, a temporary fence that was up there. But I guess the biggest change from that is now, just a little FYI for everybody, it's going to take you a little longer to get into the field itself and be able to find your seats. They have metal detectors this year. Yeah, so they got the metal detectors this year. I mean, they weren't too stringent at all. It's just, I luckily, I always bring a hat. I'm usually always wearing a hat. So, I just flipped my hat upside down and tossed everything in my hat and just passed it. And I got through rather quickly. They don't have a problem with you passing the chairs around the outside because you can bring chairs and blankets in. So, it was relatively painless. It's just going to be an extra step if you've ever been to past Buccaneers training camps. Usually once you sort of, if you do have a QR code and they scan it, which they are going to do this year because of the tickets. And it also said that don't bring a paper copy, that won't count. So if you print up your QR code, it says, I didn't see any problems with it at all, but they want to scan it on your phone. So, I scan it on my phone, and Brent was nice enough to go ahead and send me his, because Brent's a club member. And club members, I mentioned this last pod, club members get in a half hour early. So you sort of get to cherry pick the sweet spots in the front row on the sidelines for practice. So Brent went out and sent me his training camp ticket so I could get in a half hour early, and that really worked out for me. And I went in, and I was amazed about how many people just sort of like put just sat down, made camp the first spot they could. Like, people were making camp like right on the goal line. And if you've been to training camp, you know that most of the action sort of happens between the 40s or the 30s, I should say.
Right.
So I went down to the far end at the 40-yard line, made my little camp and set up, and everyone talks about the Florida Heat. I talk about it. All the reporters talk about it. The players talk about it. It was hot today. Without the bleachers there, and I think it's a drawback. Now, there's two things to this. One, with the tickets that they sold, it's never going to be as crowded as I've seen it before. Like
Okay.
I've been to the first day of training camp open to the public the past 2 years, and that's always the busiest as far as like, even though when you're in the stands when they used to have the bleachers, you're rubbing elbows with the person next to you. That's how tight it
Yeah.
is on that first practice.
Yeah, I remember last year going to one of those. It was super packed in, super tight. And like it's already hot because it's Florida, but when you're sitting next to another big burly dude and you've got like all that human body heat BTUs coming off, it's not comfortable when you got to get that close in because it's that packed.
Yeah, so I guess that's the first thing that I noticed, because I thought it was going to be jam packed being the first day.
Yeah.
But it looked like, when we moved into the indoor facility and everyone sat down, there wasn't many spots left. So it
Okay.
looked like, like a sellout, like that was pretty much capacity of what they were
Right.
expecting. But if you don't get there early,
so was it? I'm sorry. Was
Yeah.
was it not as crowded? Like, because if I estimate the bleachers from past training camps,
Sure.
I'd say it's probably about the same of the capacity of the indoor training facility.
Okay.
Like if I had to just eyeballing it, that I have no data to show that, just an eyeball.
Right.
Is it because like did it feel less full because people were spread out this year on the outside more, you think?
Yes, exactly. There's
Like
two
maybe
reasons
it's the
for
same
it.
amount of people, it's just they're just spread out more. Is that what it is?
There's that, and the indoor facility is open as soon as you go in. Like they let you walk in there. Like people were walking all over the
Oh.
field. Kids were throwing footballs. People were standing on the emblem and taking
Whoa.
selfies.
They let you on the field in the indoor facility when I guess obviously the team's not there yet.
Yeah, the team's outside practicing.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
as soon as you walk in, the indoor facility is open. Like that's
Okay.
what I did. I got my chair and I opened it up and I had my spot. I was directly on the 40-yard line, and then I directly hightailed it to see if the indoor facility was open,
Okay.
because the practice hadn't started yet. No one was even outside yet. Like even the tight ends who, year after year after year, are always the first group out there. They weren't even out there yet. So I went in to go check out the indoor facility, and it was open, and there was people, just milling around and like I said, taking selfies. And then later on in the day, when if you'd been outside the whole time and it's getting to like 30, well, it's probably closer to an hour because you got there before practice actually started. So like an hour 15 minutes out in the sun, people just started to filter into the indoor facility, either to cool down or let their kids run around and play, or just to sit down and sort of get their seat for the hour long, the last hour of practice, which was going to be held in there.
Did you know that the last hour of practice was going to be in there?
Yeah, it was on the email.
Oh, okay. The thing that
Yeah.
I got, but I didn't read.
You didn't read, yeah. That's where
I wasn't going to be able to be there. Like I thought I would. That's why I got the tickets. And, I just wasn't going to be able to. It just didn't work out this particular weekend. But so, okay. So it was in the email. Good to know.
Yeah, so it's in the email, and in the email it tells about like how you can bring chairs and blankets, but you can't bring umbrellas. It tells you you can bring a water container, but you can't bring any water bottles or any other drinks, stuff like that. But that's where I found out how the members get in a half hour early. So and it had a breakdown of practice, like this hour it's outside, this hour and a half it's inside, and so after practice started and I went out to my chair, and sort of what I was most worried about, once I saw the diagram of like where the fans were allowed to go, because it's not really much bigger than where you were allowed to go previously, which is basically just down one sideline. But now take away the stadium seating, so to speak, the bleachers. People started to sort of pile up on the rope, on the boundary. If you weren't in the first couple of rows, it's almost sort of like watching parade at Disney, if you will. You're either in the first 3 rows, or then you go like as far back as you can. And because now you're further back and you can sort of see over everyone's head the more you step back.
Okay.
But if you don't get there early, like I saw a lot of like kids just sort of milling around, like just staring up at their parents because they can't see,
Uh-huh.
because there's nowhere. Like I said, if you're not in that first couple of rows, you got to start walking around and try to find a place. Like, I saw kids just like laying on the ground because they
Mhm.
were bored. They were bored out of their skull because they couldn't see and it was hot and sweaty. And also the with the grade of the field as it crowns down, the
Mhm.
further you get away from the line, the lower the ground gets. So as you're walking back, trying to like sort of get the view over the people in front of you, you're also going downhill. So it's almost counterintuitive. Uh,
Mm.
but then it starts to go back up near. There's some mulch back there, and the mulch areas. It starts to go back up. You can put your back up against the fence, I guess you could say, and see a little better. But it, so I'm gonna put it as like a loss and a win for how the new way it's set up.
Okay.
I think it's a loss because of viewing for the fans, but I think it's a huge win for the indoor facility being open all the time.
Cool. So
In there,
just to recap this, like kind of trying to get a picture of this in my head.
sure.
One, for going through a future day of training camp, you want to get there as early as you possibly can.
Hmm.
For whatever the email tells you they open, you want to get there, be there. And so what you're saying is go in, find a place outside, set up your chair, kind of
Hmm.
mark your spot, right? And then maybe go head over in the indoor facility and can you mark your spot in there as well? Like, can
No,
you
it's
have
like,
two spots or
I guess. I mean,
okay?
I don't think it's just sort of human nature. We've all been to fireworks shows, like shows,
Sure.
plays in the park. When somebody like puts a blanket down or puts a chair down, they corner mark their spot.
Right.
If you go to a bleacher and put what, like the player card down, or like what are you going to put down to sort of mark your
Right.
spot?
Leave your
So
keys in one seat and your phone in another.
yeah, I actually
Nothing
left.
bad will happen.
I actually left my headphones, not these, but like the Apple, that come with the phone,
Uh-huh.
headphones, and I've got this big backup booster battery charger for my phone just in case it
Uh-huh.
dies. And I left those on my chair, probably 75% just to see if someone would steal them.
Hmm.
And I'm happy to say that no one did.
That's because Buck fans are great
It
and
was,
we don't steal from each other. We take care of each other like that, Ren. Buck fans unite. All right. But with that, like, so you got kids
mhm,
playing in the stadium or in the indoor facility. I
mhm.
assume, like, are you already at this point on the outdoor field starting to see the players come out and get warmed up and stuff like that, or are they not even out yet?
No, they're out. Yeah, yeah. They came out. Like I said, the tight ends always come out first, and then there's a
Yeah.
little warm up, and they're like you remember. There's
Sure.
there's mingling around, and then a whistle blows, and they all start to do their calisthenics basically.
Right.
The offense
Right.
and defense face each other, sort of like at each other's 40, and they start doing
Hmm.
stretches and lunges, and they do that for 5 minutes, and then practice officially starts.
Okay. Now,
Uh,
before you get there, because last year, what I
mhm,
remember is we parked and then we kind of had to go through this area and there was they had games set up and there was a pirate ship and they were throwing beads off the pirate ship and there was, you buy your season tickets over here and there was like a merch tent set up out there. Like, was that anywhere around at this point? Like, could you go to any of that? Like what else did they have going on around training camp?
Sure. Yeah, they did, but I didn't. I had to physically actually walk over. Like I had to seek it out because I
Okay.
came the members entrance, which was down on the other end. Uh,
Oh, okay. Okay.
well, if you come through the general public entrance or even the VIP entrance, like you're fed straight through that sort of area. And you're right. Everything you mentioned is there. There's a merchandise tent, even though it's a little smaller than it was last year. The
Hmm.
pirate ship's out there. I didn't really see if they were throwing beads, but I did see a couple of people, God bless their hearts, dressed in full pirate regalia, uh,
Hmm.
handing out beads. There's a concession stand, of course. There's a couple places the Bucks cheerleaders were out there. There's a couple places trying to sell like wireless phones and newspapers and things like that. And then they also had sort of a kids zone, like an activity area. And of course, and then the portable restrooms were there as well.
Hmm. All right.
But yeah,
Cool.
so pretty much everything that was there from last year, it's just the area that it's in is just a little more tighter and compact. And if, like I said, if you come through the club entrance, you're just gonna have to, after you, like I said, make camp as soon as you can, find your spot,
Uh-huh.
uh, and then start wandering around and look and go and see whatever you want to see.
All right. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So you said practices. or not practice, warm-ups and stuff, calisthenics, blue, whistle goes, and the players are off.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So where are we going next?
Well, it's a normal training camp practice. Lots of individuals.
Well, wait. Tight ends were out first? Because I remember that was the thing last year.
Tight ends were out first. Yeah.
Nice. All right.
Yeah.
I like to see tradition sold.
Yeah, they have been the past couple years. That's sort of their thing. The tight ends get out there first, but like I was starting to say, it's just a normal training camp practice. There's individual drills, and there's like usually it starts with receivers, running fly patterns, and it's a rotation between all four quarterbacks, and there's four lines of receivers, and they're just throwing the ball. And the part that everyone really wants to see are the 7-on-7s and 11-on-11s, and who shines, and who sort of catches your eye at that sort of thing. But I'll tell you what, man. I met up with Alan Decker, Patreon of the show, who you got a ticket for.
Yeah.
I met up with him, and I sort of showed him. I'm like, hey man, look, I got this spot up front. Like, I bought him a water. I'm like, here's some water. I'm like, I'm gonna go look around, because I knew, they were just doing those position drills and stuff. And he we were talking a little bit when I came back, and he said, yeah, he's like, they got pads on. This is gonna be good. And we're like, well, we'll see, because that's been a big sort of subject about how physical camp's gonna be. It wasn't two plays in before Quan Alexander popped Ronald Jones and made him fumble. Like it was like
so it's a lot more overall, a lot more physical this year than what we remember from last year.
I wouldn't say a lot more physical. I really wouldn't, but they're definitely taking a little further. Like they call it the pro thump or the pro pop, when you just sort of hit the guy at the shoulder, and then that's as far as you take it. They're taking it a little further, but they're still not tackling to the ground.
Okay.
That's at Dirk Cutter's press conference today. He actually mentioned that. He's like, what he's trying to prevent is pileups. Is when all the guys get piled together, because he feels, and he's probably right, I'm sure he's got the statistics on it, that those are the times when people start to get injured. So they're trying to keep bodies off the ground and not piled up all together.
I'd say for Dirk Cutter, I don't know if he has the statistic on it, though he really probably does. He's been in the league long enough. I would think the old eyeball test of just he's been around enough to know that's when people tend to get hurt in whether it be games or in training camp. So God, I had a question. What was it going to be?
Who shined?
No, not yet. No. Shoot.
Not yet. About Quan Alexander?
No, it was right before you said his name.
Ronald Jones?
No, it's all right. I've lost it. It'll probably come back to me. Alan Decker. Oh, yes, you said that. Quick thing. Shout out to Alan. Thank you. He is a patron of the show, and being a patron, guys, has its privileges. And one of those privileges was when we get things like an extra ticket that we can't use. Patrons are kind of the first people we contact. Now, if you guys are interested in becoming a patron of the show, you guys go over to Patreon. That's Patreon, patreon.com/thepewtercast. For a small recurring monthly donation as small as $1 a month, you guys can become a patron of the show. You'll help keep the lights on here, keep us going. And, actually imagine like Ren and I actually having our faces up at the same time and not, this back and forth thing, right? Like imagine like all that fun stuff that you guys would love to see. That's a lot of how that stuff happens. So you guys go over there, you can check that out. There's a couple different levels. You get more, the more you go, the more kickbacks you guys get. So, but shout out to Alan. Thank you so much for being a sponsor of the show. He actually just recently upped his pledge, which was really cool. So thank you for that, Alan. And I'm really glad you guys enjoyed your day. So anyway, that's what it was. Sorry. You met Alan, and what was happening?
Well, it started with, the 11-on-11s and 7-on-7s, and, people started to shine and pop out, like pop. I don't know how much, the listeners and viewers have been following training camp, or what they heard about how sharp and focused Mike Evans seems to be this year. And he's lights out, man. Like anything in his anything in this guy's zip code, he's bringing in.
Nice. I like it.
And here's I'm going to say something that might get some feathers ruffled, but I don't care. We always argue that Mike Evans is a top 5 wide receiver, and I believe he is as well. but it's because of his statistics, and he gets
Mm-hmm.
those statistics because he gets fed the ball an awful lot. He
Mm-hmm.
doesn't do a lot with the ball after the catch, and even though he does make some very good contested catches, he doesn't get a lot of separation. But
Mm-hmm.
from what I've heard, coming into this year, and from coming in before I got to camp today, and then from what I saw at camp, it's just looking easy for him. I
Okay.
think this, and it's like you said, it's only been a few days, or like I should say, it's only been a few days, and you don't want to get up too high on him. But the way that Mike Evans is looking in camp, it's the best he's ever looked, and he looks like, just by the eyeball test, you can tell
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like he's taken another big step towards um I guess crafting, mastering his craft as a wide receiver. He looks
So he looks real good. So like, because I remember this kind of being the thing last year was he has to improve in the yak, right? The yards after catch. That was, it's kind of like that was supposed to be his focal point. Didn't really seem to happen much last year. Do you feel like that's the thing that we're noticeably going to take a step forward in this year, or what do you think it might be? Or is there a couple things? What's it feel like? What's it look like so early in preseason right now?
Right, and I think it just has it. I think the best way to sum it up is what other people have said: is it's like this laser focus that he has, that he's really on his game.
Uh-huh.
Everything just looks really easy to him. Like there's
Okay.
no catches where like it seems to be too hard for him. Um, he looks very smooth, very under control at all times. But as he's doing that, like he is getting separation. Now, yards after the catch, we're not going to know until preseason, and then probably, honestly, uh, halfway through the regular season before we can really start to judge if he's getting yards after the catch or not. Because, like I said, they are tackling or being a little more physical this year, but they're
Mm-hmm.
still not tackling to the ground.
Right.
Every run, can be a touchdown because they're not going to ever take the running back to the ground.
Right.
So
Right.
as long as you keep running, you're still, and if Mike just keeps running, you're getting yards after the catch. I'll continue with the wide receivers. I want to talk about Desean Jackson a little bit. He looks just as quick as he ever did, and Fitzpatrick and Jameis seem to really have really got the rhythm down. The chemistry word we like to talk about all the time with
Uh-huh.
the quarterback and wide receiver on the deep ball. It seems to be like a day after day after day. There's one of these 80-yard bombs perfectly in stride as Djax burnt the safety and the corner, and Fitzpatrick or Jameis laid one in. Jameis might have had his best throw ever to Desean Jackson on a deep pass today.
That is maybe the one video I saw of today. I think our friend Trevor over at Pewter Report put it out. At least the one that I saw was the one from him. And I don't even know that Desean turned his head around. It's like Desean was just running. All of a sudden, the ball just falls right in front of his face and he grabs it, is what it kind of looked like from the angle I saw. That's got to make you happy. I got to tell you that, that certainly was it was something that got in my crawl last year, but
crawl.
Yeah, we're not going to do that anyway. I loved hearing and seeing in the offseason Jameis and Desean working together. That I am not super worried about Fitzpatrick taking over for the first 3 games of the season.
Right.
It really, there's enough talent on this team. Fitzpatrick is enough of a manager. We can still win. We can still go out and we can still do what we want to do. Fitzpatrick is still not our starting quarterback, though. Jameis Winston is our starting quarterback on this team. And when the suspension came down, one of the thoughts that immediately went through my head was, man, Jameis has been working with Desean, and some of these other guys all offseason. I hope that doesn't get lost and that doesn't get I hope that stays tight even through through that suspension, because we're going to obviously have to get more work in from Fitzpatrick, through that, and that it's not going to throw that off too much. So, but I like hearing, and I do, wasn't it yesterday Fitzpatrick had a pretty good bomb to Desean?
Yeah.
So, that's cool, man. I like seeing that.
Yeah. And then the last receiver I want to talk about is Justin Watson. It was
Ooh,
really the
draft pick.
first. Yeah, he finally, I shouldn't say finally, but he's healthy. He didn't, get on the field during OTAs or mini camps.
What was
And he
wrong with
was
him? Do you remember?
it was like a hamstring, like, a leg, something or other. But it was one of those things where if he was a starting wide receiver and it was Sunday, he'd play. But
Hmm.
since it's OTAs and minicamp, we don't want him to injure it any further. So we're just going to make sure he's 110% before we let him go out there. And they fed him the ball, man.
Yeah.
Like every time I looked up, Watson was making another catch, and he's a big dude, and he's quick, and he can get some separation, and he also made some catches that were contested in
Hmm.
between sort of the linebacker cornerback window, in between the cornerback safety window, and he wasn't afraid to sort of stick his nose in there. Now, once again, he knows he's not going to get his clock cleaned as
Hmm.
he might during preseason or Sunday, and he's still got a big hill to climb as far as that wide receiver room, because there's lots of talent in there and lots of guys in front of him, sort of in the pecking order right now. But uh, you can see why Jason Light was so excited about him.
Hmm.
One of those late round diamonds in the rough, hidden gems type of guy.
Sure.
Yeah, he can play, man. He's
Was he
got.
the guy? Was he the guy when we drafted him that everybody was like, "We just drafted Adam Humphries' replacement"? Was that him?
By everybody, you mean you? Yes.
Me? Oh, not just me. I've heard. I'll speak him again. Our guy Tampa Bay Trey. He said the same thing.
Yeah, I think he
Trevor
said it. I
Sikkema?
think he said it like live. Yeah, like as soon as
Yeah.
it happened.
Right. And I've heard several other people say that since then. But that's more of a. I just want to be clear on that. Looking at salary cap issues, we just don't see that Adam Humphries is going to be able to stay on this team really past this year.
Right.
Like the team is not going to offer him the kind of money that he is going to get on the open market. And so come next year, not that we want to see Adam gone. In fact, we'd love to see Adam stay here in Tampa. And Jason and Mike Greenberg, if there's any way we can figure that out, let's do that. But, uh, you know, Adam's going to go somewhere else and he's going to make a lot more money than he's going to be able to make here. And it's probably just probably the way it's going to work out. So the idea that we got somebody else who can come in and replace him, cool. Let me ask you this: talk to me about the crowd? Like, was the crowd into it? I know you said a lot of people were back in the indoor facility. So, like, were people watching? Were they cheering? Were they oohing and awing, or were it just kind of people sitting around just golf clapping every time something happened? Like,
outside it was more of a golf clap, and like I
yeah.
like I said, I remember when I was, just strictly a fan, not like I'm just strictly a fan. I'm still strictly a fan, but on the outside looking in, before podcasting or actually before and getting seriously go to training camp,
Mhm.
before getting to get press credentials for a few days to be able to ask questions for these guys, which is coming up on a Tuesday and Wednesday for Brent and I, which I'm of course super stoked about. I used to always roll my eyes when I'd hear the reporters talk about the heat.
Mhm.
It's like, oh my God, it's so hot. It's like 30 days in a row I have to work. And it's like, shut up, man. Like
Mhm.
you get paid to cover the team that I love. Like I would cut off like both of my pinkies, you know, to make like just enough money to sort of survive, to be able to do this for a
Mhm.
living. But man, I'll tell you what, I think a lot of the golf clapping and sort of just the milling around on the outside was because of the oppressive heat. It is, and without that shade, I'm telling you,
Mhm.
it's just hot. I'm okay. Here's the thing with me. Like I've lived in Florida my whole life. I'm not a really big beach guy. You know why? Because I just don't like to sit there in the sand and bake. Like I can't stand there. I
Right.
can't. If I'm sitting in a chair on the beach or a towel or whatever, I am miserable. You put an umbrella with shade over me, I'm fine. I don't know what it is, like psychologically. If the heat's still there, it's like maybe I can't feel the actual
Uh-huh.
sun on me. But if I walk around, or if I'm tossing the football around or throwing the frisbee, or walking up and down the beach, maybe building a sand, if I'm moving, the heat doesn't bother me at all. Like I don't even feel it. But if I
Mhm.
sit there completely still in a chair or on a blanket and just sit there and look at stuff, and I'm directly in sunlight on when of course it has to be like a hot day, like we're talking like 92 plus, I am miserable. And I sort of, and I don't know if it was me projecting that my feelings onto everyone else that I looked at, but there were not a lot of smiles in the crowd, man, outside.
Okay.
It was just, people were happy to be there, and it wasn't like, oh my gosh, this is terrible, I hate this. I never heard any grumbling about the bleachers being gone, about the shade being gone, and people were just, this is what they got, and it's free, and they're going to take it because they love the team. Like, we're going to take whatever you give us. So, but yeah, there wasn't really a lot of energy on the outside, but when we got inside and people cooled down and the team came, like when the team walked the door, people started cheering. Like we were like, yay! And it gets loud in there. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
August 4th, when Pulowski's gonna have his stick carrier training day.
Yeah.
And if they move indoor, which I think they are, I'm almost positive they are, it's gonna be deafening.
Yeah.
Because that place echoes.
They're gonna love that.
Oh,
they're gonna love that.
It is.
Forget them. I'm gonna love that because
Me too.
I love that kind of stuff. So I'm excited. I'm excited for that particular day. That's cool. So I mean, really, the idea that people are just kind of sitting around golf clapping, whatever. It's not that they're just the old curmudgeons. It's just it's hot.
It's
that kind of what you're saying. Like, it's just hot. I don't want to move. Give me where's the popsicle girl? Where'd she go? I want the popsicle girl. What was her name? Mandy, I think, when we were out there for OTAs, Ren. Pretty sure that's what it was.
The popsicles are no more.
No, don't tell me that.
But this is what. Well, at least I didn't
bring my own popsicles, man.
I didn't see them today, but this is what they do have. They do have people walking around now selling water, like they do in
water.
Yeah, like they do in the stadium. Have you like the beer guy and the water guy, and they walk up and down the aisles. Same exact thing. So they're selling.
You know what? At least they're selling it. Like, I mean, you could make the argument they should give it away. Maybe they shouldn't. That's another discussion. Last year, you didn't have it. If you didn't bring your own water, you were screwed.
No, you could buy it. You could buy it.
Last year?
Yeah, there was well, I bought it like a bunch of times. Actually, I bought soda, but yeah, you could buy it, but you had to go to it.
Okay.
And
now they're coming to you.
Now they're coming to you.
All right, look at that. See, I mean, that's convenience right there, right? They're stepping up their game a little bit.
Maybe they bought a bunch of stock in Dasani, Coca-Cola, and so their idea is we take the 10 away, our water sales are going to shoot through the roof for this month.
Yeah. Hey, here's something completely not related to this podcast. However, did you know when you go to Disney World, people are like, "Oh, I'm going to buy a water, and then I'll just fill up my water bottle at the water fountains throughout the park." All of the water fountains in the park are non-filtered, like it's straight tap water out of Orlando public water system, and it's like room temperature or like heat of the day temperature.
They do it on purpose.
Like it's not cold. Yeah. Oh no, I promise you they do. There are 3 water fountains around the park. I could point them out to you where the water is actually cool, refreshing, and like filtered. But the rest of them are not, and it is 100% that way on purpose. So you'll go spend $4 a bottle.
Man, you can't really blame them. It seems a little curmudgeony, but
Disney gonna get their money, man. They're gonna get their money.
Exactly. That's really what they're good at.
Yeah. The Glazers gonna get their money. Glazers gonna get their money.
Do you understand why they take the cap? Like, this really bothers me. Like, they open the water for you or the refreshment, whatever, and then they keep the cap.
You mean at the stadium? When you do that at the stadium?
Well, they also did it at training camp.
Yeah, so you can't take the cap and throw it. I asked them about that. That's why. Because otherwise it can become a projectile.
That is so dumb.
Yeah, because, Donovan Smith can't handle a bottle top being thrown at him.
I don't think it's more of a safety of the fans and starting fights.
It is. Yeah.
But yeah, the girl.
But that's why.
The girl goes, "Hey, I'm taking the cap. Did you know that?" And I'm like, "I wish you wouldn't." She goes, "Stadium rules," and I go, "No, they're not." I'm like, "No, it's not." I'm like, "We're not at the stadium." I'm like, "I'm doing a little bit." You know me. It's like I'm doing a little back and forth. I'm like, "I'm not a child. Give me my cap." Like, I want. What if I kick it over and I'll
terrible.
Yeah, like what do you like? Are you gonna give me my $250 back, or can I exchange it? No. So give me my damn cap, lady.
Yeah, listen, Ren, I've got a solution for that. It's Dasani water, right?
Yeah.
Go buy you a Dasani water bottle before you get to the stadium, and then take the cap with you in your pocket. There's a little tip. That's your training camp tip from Brent Allen here at the courtesy of the Pewtercast. That one is free. You'll get more if you go over to Patreon. But take your own Dasani water bottle cap, and you can have your cap for your water, and everybody else will be jealous. Well, we got way off track. So what else is happening at training camp, man? Fan in the stands. We saw a bunch of receivers looking really good. Watson's looking pretty good. What else we got, man? What else is happening?
Move on to running back. The usual cast of characters.
Doug Martin, how did he look?
He looked good.
Black and gray. Silver
and black and gray.
High silver.
Are you trying to Mark Cook this? Is that what you're doing?
No, I'm not. You know what? I haven't listened to their podcast in a week. He steals it from me. No, it's not true. And I love Pewter Nation podcast. You guys are great. I've been busy with some other stuff, and I haven't listened to your last one yet. And you only come out with 2 a week. So
one a week.
Yeah, 1 a week. So
you're not even behind yet.
Right. Not quite.
Anyway, Ronald Jones, he's starting to get some reps with the ones. I wouldn't say it's a 50-50 split yet with Peyton Barber, but it's more than he was getting at minicamp and OTAs, that's for sure.
Is that him winning the job, or is that them just kind of rotating him around and seeing what's what?
I think it's him. It's them seeing what he looks like with the one offensive line and with the one. Yeah. He had a press conference.
Not too much to read into that yet. You don't think?
Not at all. I wouldn't. He's not. Let's face it. He's not going to get on the field until he can pass protect. Until he can pick up the exotic blitzes on third down.
I saw a video of him the other day. I think it was coming off of day 1. I think of training camp, and somebody was coming in off the edge. And I mean, it made Rojo look like he had WD-40 on his hands. Guy slipped right by him. I mean, didn't even phase him at all. If Rojo was trying to protect Jameis in that situation, or Fitzpatrick, whoever it is, that guy would have been sacked so hardcore. It was bad. It was bad.
He would have become my new Cole Gardner.
Oh, Cole Gardner. Nobody can do that like you. That's gonna be the next T-shirt slogan, especially if he makes this team.
Cutter talked about him again today.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, why are you doing? You're doing this. You're hurting my feelings. But Shawn Wilson looks quick, man. He's not that big, but man, he looks powerful and quick. Once again, it's a little too early to make assumptions about what's he going to do or where is he at. But as a good sign, he's also back there fielding punts. And it looks like the 4 people that are up for it, Brent Grimes is back there fielding punts, and Levante Davis back there fielding punts. But chances are
they're not going to do it. Yeah.
They're not going to do it. So we're down like the Hump, Reedy, Wilson, and Desean Jackson is back there, which makes me happy. Now we'll see as training camp starts to go along, and after a couple of preseason games, sort of who.
Wait. Go back through that list again. Hump, Reedy,
Wilson,
and
D-Jax.
Okay.
Desean Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So, but as we start to go, through a couple of preseason games, you'll start to see that thin out and then really decide. But if Shawn Wilson can win that punting job, obviously it will go a long way to him making the team. Or if they feel like, hey, another thing he can give us for claiming for taking up a roster spot, not only being like, a backup running back, he can also get on the field and return punts.
Yeah. So let's go back. Let's remind Bucs fans and honestly me of this discussion and why this matters. So, I think the argument is how many running backs are they going to keep when they get down to the 53-man roster? It'll either be 3 or 4.
Right.
They're not going to go 5. They traditionally only keep 3. The last couple of years they've had 4. So currently we have Peyton Barber, who pretty much is a lock for the job. Rojo, who's going to be a lock for the job. And I don't think anybody else is a lock. There's Charles Sims, Jacquizz Rodgers, and Shawn Wilson. Right. So, we have 5 guys for 4, maybe 3 spots. And with Shawn Wilson, we could put him on practice squad, but if we do that, another team could sign him off. So they might not want to stash him on practice squad at all. Like, they really might want to protect him by actually keeping him on the active roster. So, the question is then who's he knocking off, Jaquiz or Charles Sims? It's going to be one of those two guys, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's, but I mean, a lot of people keep talking about the Shawn Wilson kid, and a lot of people like him. So, ostensibly they'd keep, if they're going to keep four, they'd keep the four, they'd keep Rojo and then the four veterans, and stash Shawn Wilson out over on the practice squad. But they may not do that because they don't want to risk losing him. So, is that right? Did I'm
No, yeah, you're spot on.
Okay, cool.
You're spot on. I really think Charles Sims is kind of a lock as well, just because they trust him so much in pass protection on third down. Okay. Plus, we know if they use him correctly, he's one of the best in the open field of making the first guy miss and picking up extra yards. And he is a legitimate home run threat out of the backfield in the passing game. Of course, the knock against him is that once he's in the game, it's probably 90 to 95% going to be a pass, because they're not going to hand him the ball. They keep trying it, and he keeps failing, in my opinion. But if Wilson can at least, make the Bucs coaching staff feel comfortable, and for him to, and then they like him at the punt return position, it gives validity to taking that last roster spot, even away from someone like Jaquiz Rogers.
But I mean, so truthfully though, when we look back at Jaquiz Rogers from last year, he had a little bit of a role while Doug Martin was suspended for the first 3 games, but really after that, he got in every once in a while, but he was the kickoff returner, right? The kickoff returner. And that was really his whole job. Like that's really all he did was kick return. And
he didn't take many out. Basically, he just catch the ball and take a knee is what he did.
So to which I kind of sat back and said, they're holding an entire roster spot essentially for a kickoff return that mostly takes a knee. Right. So, and I get it. Dirk Cutter's really loyal to his guys, and he and Jaquiz go way back. And I don't want to speak ill of Jaquiz, whatever. He had a good year for us when he kind of stepped in. But if you're looking at the overall totality of everything, that one seems to me to be the most natural one to kind of let go here towards the end of training. If you got to make the decision, which one, if it's between Charles Sims and Jaquiz so that they can keep, this Wilson kid, I got to think it's it's Jaquiz who's probably going to get the knock, if I had to guess.
Yeah, and once again, as with Rojo, it also really means how well Shawn Wilson can start to pick up, the pass protection and the blitz, because that's another thing, a reason why they've kept Jaquiz around, because once again, Dirk Cutter trusts him on third down to be where he's supposed to be, pick up the guy he's supposed to be, pick up, and not get fooled by these exotic looks and things like that. But if you get a guy like Shawn Wilson and you get him on your team, and we're comparing apples to apples, one being Wilson, one being Rogers, the benefits for Wilson outweigh Rogers, if everything's even, because of the money he's going to make. He's an undrafted free agent. It's like Adam Humphries, we've talked about, this is his, 4th year as a Buccaneer, I believe.
Humphries?
Yeah, it's his 3rd or 4th.
3rd. This will be his 3rd.
But the point being, this is his 3rd year, and he's only making $3 million. Like, his first year, he made pennies, not to you and I, or probably, 95%.
Well, he would have made league minimum, right?
I don't know, but it would be less than $1 million. He was making the hundreds of thousands of dollars, which in NFL money is chump change.
Right.
So, and then you look going forward, how we were talking about Adam Humphries, like we won't be able to afford him next year because, we're looking at signing people like Quan, like Donovan Smith, like Ali Marpet, Jameis Winston the year after that. At least that's the plan going forward as of now, I believe. So, saving that $2.5 million, and then having Shawn Wilson, basically under contract, because it becomes a restrict, like he has to give a tenure. Remember when it was like, it's like you either, I can't remember what it is, but it's either like you sign this piece of paper, we own your rights, you either sign this piece of paper and play for us, or you don't play.
Right.
It's kind of like he'll be in that sort of locked in mode, and they'll have control over him for a lot of years. And if he can do those things to what Chris Rogers does, then why not do it at a younger, more
Cheaper.
explosive, faster, cheaper price?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is the way, that is the circle of life in the NFL player.
Mm-hmm. There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. All right. So those are the running backs. Anything else out of them before whatever else you saw going on?
No, not really.
Okay.
No.
Cool.
I'm going to move on to the defense.
Okay.
Because the offensive line, there was lots of one-on-one offensive line, defensive line drills today, and they were fun to watch. As far as like safeties, cornerbacks, linebackers, I really didn't get to see much of them, especially on the 11-on-11 and 7-on-7s. Like, it's really hard to sort of see who's standing out at linebacker.
They move so fast, and they're changing every play. You know, so it's like trying to see that and catch that and track it with your eye, plus see what's happening with the ball, and somebody's talking to you, so you look over and talk to them, and it's tough.
Unless there's a sack or a pass breakup, or they accidentally tackle somebody to the ground, you really don't notice the linebackers almost at all. And it seems, to me at least, the receivers right now are really having their way with the corners. Even though MJ Stewart did look good again today at the nickel, and Dirk Cutter talked about him as pressure, and we'll get to that in a minute. But sort of the safety play and the corner play and linebacker play were just, they were there. No one really, popped off the field for me. But watching these one-on-one drills with the offensive linemen against a defensive line, I'll tell you what, man. When they go to that pass rush nickel line with Vinny Curry, McCoy, JPP, and then the other end, Noah Spence.
Yeah.
Good luck. I mean, Gerald McCoy and Jason Pierre-Paul one-on-one are unblockable. At least there's no one that the Bucs have that can block it. I mean, these 300-pound men who are trying to stop them get to just a certain point are just like a speed bump. I mean, they're when JPP and Gerald McCoy are lined up in front of him, they know that they're going to get by them. They're just deciding, how am I going to do it this time?
I'm going to go to the top, go under the under. I'm going to get him a hug first, maybe a kiss on the cheek as I go by.
JPP with his long arms, man, he comes up and extends them, and the guard or tackle, because he was playing inside and outside today on the one-on-ones, can't get to him, and he just extends it and just tosses him, man. Just like this. So, boop.
JPP in practice, does he have his hand all like clubbed up and taped up like we would normally see in a game? Does he have that in practice?
I didn't notice it. He went away from the club after the first few games. Like, that was sort of like, okay, how are we going to do this? I think they specially made him gloves. So like there's they've made gloves or modified them where there's not just a couple of fingers flopping around. Like they've cut them off and sewed them up. So for what it looks like, he's just he's like a three-toed sloth out there with one hand. And they've made
sloth.
Besides, I mean, just visually. So it's I can't tell you for sure, but it definitely wasn't noticeable. Like, I like when you would see him on TV with the Giants, you could just see this massive, like, it looked like a club, taped to the end of his hand.
Sure, that's what I remember. That's what I remember seeing in my head.
Yeah, but it seems like they've gotten away from that for sure. And like I said, I can't be 100% positive, but if you're making me answer the question, I would say that definitely no, that he's not wearing it, not doing the club. So that was really about it, to be honest. Like I said, no one, like, it really popped off on the defense for me. It was hard. I wanted to see what Sitchy looked like, but honestly, I didn't really see him the whole time. I was, mostly because it was sort of poor when I went on in the indoor facility, I was down by the 25-yard line because the Bucks had always sort of been running their offense that way, and today for some reason they ran it the other way. So like the defense was a good 30 yards away from me, and then they didn't have any linebacker drills like down on that end in front of me, so I didn't get to see Sitchy at all. But yeah, so that was it. Hung out with Allen all day. Got hooked up with Mr. Buck Nation.
Oh yeah, good friend James. Yeah.
Yeah, Big Money James. I just teased him because of his Twitter handle. But we talked, and he live streamed for about 25, 30 minutes from in the indoor facility.
Oh yeah.
He went on there.
Yeah, hey, you guys go check his channel out, youtube.com. I'm assuming it's / Mr. Bucks Nation. He does some really good work. It's different, I think, than what anybody else out there is doing. And I love that when you get somebody who comes out and they're doing something that is unique, something that is needed. They fill a void in the fandom, because guys, we have tons and tons and tons of fan generated media out here. And there's lots going on. So you guys make sure you go check out his channel. He's got lots and lots of good stuff over there.
Yeah. So he was fun to talk to, and and that was kind of it. And by that time, I usually like to hang out till the end, like even watch the players sort of sign autographs. Maybe you can follow a player down the fan line and overhear something like a nugget or two. But like I told Allen, he's like, hey, can I buy you lunch? I'm like, well, first off, I'm buying you lunch. And second off, no, because I feel terrible because I've on 3 hours sleep. And I had, to be honest, I had too much to drink last night. And if I don't like get to bed or start pounding like a bunch of caffeine and nicotine, I'm going to throw up. Nice. So I'm like,
Ren.
Yeah, I'm like, hey man, I promise you, we'll hook up for lunch. We'll try to do it when Brent gets down here and see what we can scrap together. But as of right now, no and goodbye.
Thank you for your patronage.
Exactly. I'm going home and going back to bed. So I took off, and that was pretty much it. And so I guess all we really have left to talk about is the press conference.
Yeah. So with that, Ren, let me take a moment. I mentioned earlier, so I want to go ahead and say this. If anybody out there is listening, I know we still have some people over in the Mixler chat room. There's still people watching on YouTube. If you guys want to call in, the phone line's open. The number is 864-729-BUCKS. That's 864-729-2827. This is not typically an instant cast where we just broadcast that. So if somebody out there is listening and they got something they want to add about training camp today or really anything so far, please feel free to give us a call. We'll take your phone call. But we're going to kind of, I guess we'll talk about the pressers and we'll round out the show then, Ren. But you guys go ahead, just call in if that's what you want to do. If not, it's all right. Let's talk about the pressers, Ren. What do we got? I haven't even watched them. I don't even know who got press for conferences today. Oh, well, before we get to that, I'm assuming players signing autographs. Probably really didn't happen a whole lot before today. Well, I guess yesterday with Military Day probably did, but because usually that's what happens. Like practice ends, right? Like it moves really fast. Practice goes pretty quickly. Practice ends, players start signing autographs. Some players go. Some players. What did you notice as far as who was still working out on the field? Anything special about players doing autographs? Anything special with any fans? Give us a picture of what that was like.
Did you not listen to the part where I said I didn't hang out for that because I was hungover and I left?
You did say that. You
did. Jesus, you're like my second girlfriend. Don't listen to a word I say. So I can make something up if you want me to.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Let's just assume that they did. Typically, the players go out and
no,
some of them sign autographs. Some of them keep doing some work on the field.
Yeah, it was definitely starting to happen. Players, like everyone had gone up to the rope line and everyone was lined up and players were coming over. I just did not pay any attention to it. Like my focus was on the door and to my car. And that's exactly what happened.
Gotcha.
All right, so let me fill you on who had pressers today. The officials ones were Vinny Curry and Rojo, Ronald Jones the third, of course, Dirk Cutter, and then actually they captured some video of someone talking to Bo Allen and put it up there on Buccaneers.com as well. I'll start with Bo Allen's because it was inconsequential to say the least. All I can really tell you that the only thing that sort of caught my interest was the interviewer at one time thought Bo Allen played the offensive line.
No.
Yeah. He was talking about the offensive line is like a close group, and offensive line this and offensive line that. And Bo just goes, "Yeah, well, I've never played offensive line, but the defensive line."
Okay, fair. Bo Allen and Ryan Jensen. If you didn't know that those were two separate guys, they kind of look alike.
True.
You know,
both
somebody was just trying to call
ginormous redheads.
Yeah. So they kind of look alike, but still, you ought to know who you're talking to, and you probably should know what position they play before you start talking to them.
And to be fair, he didn't know he was from Philly because he asked a lot of Philly questions. It seems like a lot of these questions are to like the Vinny Currys, the Bo Allens, are, hey, are you bringing this Super Bowl championship mentality to the locker room? And it's like, they're like,
I just left it in Philly. I don't.
It's like, what do you say to that?
I didn't really have that Super Bowl mentality. The other guys did up there in Philly, so that's why I'm not there anymore.
Those guys just carried me. That's why they didn't re-sign me. I'm terrible.
Yeah. Right.
So that was pretty much the only real thing of consequence about Bo Allen. But we can go ahead and jump over to Vinny Curry.
They didn't even. Oh wow. Yeah. What did Vin Curry have to say?
I think it was an honest mistake. Honestly, like maybe he got a little bit confused or whatever. I didn't really recognize the voice, to be honest. I have my suspicions, but since I'm saying this person, sort of looked like a little bit of a fool, I'm not going to throw it out there in case I'm wrong.
Awesome. I'll ask you again off air.
Sure. All right. So Vinny Curry, once again, and I'm sorry if you react the way I used to. What was that? Did you? Did we close?
No, we're good. We're fine.
Okay. What's the heat, man? Like he talked about it, and so did Rojo.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it's the heat is something special, different in Tampa, Florida, man. That humidity is wacky. But to quickly go off that, because like I said, who really cares? Something interesting he said. He said by this time next week we'll be a totally different team than we are today. And he was sort of explaining how training camp works and the preseason goes through, and he was excited about the talent on the defensive line, but as we're this analogy has been used a lot about putting the pieces of the puzzle together. That was sort of like a point that stuck out as he was explaining that thing. He's basically like, look, he's like, the team we are now, we're going to be totally different than we are next week because we are so new. There are so many new pieces, or you start to learn at how the guy next to you plays. Continuity, that type of thing. So he brought that up, and I thought that was a real keen observation on his point. I've never heard anyone say that ever about training camp. But once he said, I was like, you know what? That makes a lot of sense, and I like it. So I'm sharing it with everybody else. At one point, he just said when it was one of those Philly questions, like, hey, in Philly, how'd you do it in Philly? You won a Super Bowl, Philly. What's the secret mixture concoction that you're going to bring down to Tampa Bay so we can get to where you were last year? And basically, he just kind of he goes, winning comes down to discipline and want to, and that's something that has been lacked. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, you take those two things and you apply them to last year. Right.
Exactly.
And let's remember, last year was the most talented team that Tampa Bay had ever seen in Jameis's time. Here, remember that was declared by Dirk Cutter. We saw in a thing during Hard Knocks. This is the most talented team. You might say that this year's team is a little bit more talented than even last year's team.
Oh, I think it'd be way more.
Is it?
Well, let's go through it. All right. Well,
no,
quarterback.
Let's
go through it real quick. No, seriously. Okay. Quarterback's the same, right?
Yeah. Except for they're a little bit more experienced now.
Yeah, but
right?
Same amount of talent.
Same. Yeah.
All right. Running back.
Receivers mostly the same. Running back's going to be
more talented. Look, we all love Doug Martin. We all thought he was going to do great things. He didn't. He stunk. Yeah. And it's practically impossible for Rojo to stink as bad as Doug Martin did last year. Let's face it.
It's fair. It's fair.
You know?
Okay, that's fair. Okay. I would
Back.
say currently that's a marginal upgrade because Rojo hasn't even played a snap yet in the NFL, so we don't know, and we don't even know where Rojo's going to be playing, where he's going to filter. So, and we had Peyton Barber last year, we had Charles Sims last year, we had Jacquizz Rodgers last year. So I'd say yes, I would agree with you. I think we're probably better on running back now. At this point, the most I could give that would be a marginal.
Agreed.
Upgrade.
That's very fair. Offensive line.
Vastly different. And I don't know yet. I don't know.
But on paper, we're talking about on paper. I mean, last year, what did you have?
I'd say
last year you had what did you have the Bucs going like 11-5 last year and going to the Super Bowl on paper? Like,
sure.
Don't be all. This is just don't be gun shy now.
No, that was last year. This year, I'm different. You see this differently when you cover the team like we do, right? No, I mean, I'm well documented in saying that I'm still concerned about the right side of our line. I think the left side of our line is going to be more dominant than it has ever been, at least since the days of Logan Mankins being here. So, I would say that our line is at least 50% better than it was last year.
Yeah, it's an upgrade at center.
Definitely an upgrade. Love Alley. It is an upgrade at center.
Is it
upgrade at left guard? Upgrade wherever. Let's see who's calling us here. Nope. He hung up on us. He's probably dropped the call. Driving. That's what happens. When you're driving, you try to call, you drop calls. Stop going through those tunnels.
Left and right tackle are the same.
Left and right tackle are the same.
So the only the question mark is right guard. And once again, can Caleb Benenoch actually be as crappy as J.R. Swayze played last year?
I want to say no, but we'll find out. We'll find out. I've got a lot of hope, but okay. So again, I think we're at a marginal upgrade
because of the center position, right?
Okay, yes, that is definitely, and I think kicking, and I've said this before, kicking Alley over to left guard is going to help Donovan. It's going to help our left guard, and our center is going to be straight. If DeMar comes in, I'll tell you what, if those three guys are straight and DeMar comes in and he plays lights out like he did last year, Caleb Benenoch cannot not suck. Like, he will be bolstered by everybody else around him. Plus, he's going into his third year. He's going to be better. Remember, Kevin Pimfield came out in his third year and played pretty damn good. So, we are upgraded on the offensive line, I think, for sure.
Tight end.
Is the same as it was last year.
Defensive line.
100%, 1,000% better.
Linebacker.
Because the only person left from last year is Gerald McCoy.
And Golston.
I mean, yeah, I know there's Spence. Okay, Golston. Okay, like half the line's still there. Okay, fine, whatever. But you understand what I'm talking about. The starting defensive line, it's just Gerald. He's the only one who's the same.
Yeah. Linebackers.
Exactly the same as was last year. Although I will say, I think Darius Taylor seems to have taken a couple steps forward than Darius Clanton did. So
he changed his name, changed everything, changed his career path. Cornerbacks.
We're in the same spot that we were last year. We've got some potential with MJ Stewart and Carlton Davis, but I mean,
would you say we have more depth than last year?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
okay,
I'd give you that.
And safety,
we are 1,000 times better because TJ Ward is not here.
Okay. At any time when we went through all the positions, did you say we were better last year?
No. What I'm saying is I don't. You said that we are tons better than we were last year.
I don't think I said tons better. We have to roll.
Whatever.
We have to roll the tape on that one.
I don't know. Yeah. We'll leave that up to the podcasters to hit back 15 seconds, back 15 seconds, back 15 seconds. Oh, there, he said it. He said we're tons better. All right.
Tweet.
Forward 15 seconds, forward 15 seconds. Let's get where we are. But no. I think we are better. I don't think that we are tons and that's my point. Yes, we have made upgrades on this team. Yes, there are places where we have taken strides forward, particularly along the defensive line. But as far as personnel, we are very, very similar to last year's team. To go back to Vin Curry's point, what you need is you got to have discipline and want to. And I think those were two things that somehow were missing last year was discipline and I have a hard time saying that want to is not there because I'm not in the locker room. You know what I mean? I don't.
It's sort of immeasurable, and it's also an insult.
Yeah, and I'm not willing to say that about the team last year. Like, I'm not going to look at any of those guys and say, "Oh, you just didn't want to," except for unless your name is Chris Baker.
I knew you were going
I will
there.
say that, and potentially TJ Ward, because I think he was just more worried about himself than he was about the team. But I would not sit back and say that anybody else on this team was more worried. Didn't have the want to.
Yeah.
There was definitely discipline issues. They were not executing last year. They were not being, so that was the point that got us into this whole thing, was Vin Curry's deal about discipline and want to. I think it's a great point. It's a fantastic point.
Yeah, his interview started off real slow, but when he sort of like he kind of took over the interview, the press conference himself, as in like they would ask him a question and he would like, okay, this is what you really want to know, and that's where these quotes sort of came from. He'd sort of like talk about he'd answer the question a little bit and then he'd change to like, well, this is what I want to say about that really. And the last thing he said that, this guy's, now that I'm looking at this, he's turned into quite a little philosopher, Vinny Curry. Chemistry develops trust.
Yeah.
And that once again, I thought this would be something you would be able to talk to.
Yeah.
Since you're, a student of leadership and
Sure.
things like that.
Sure. I mean, well, that's culture, right? That's part of culture that, chemistry develops trust. And the reason for that is you go and you have chemistry, things work. When things start to work, you begin to trust the other person. And then when you get into weird spots, you go, no, things just tend to work because this works with us. And so you're going to trust that guy.
It dropped.
I don't know why it keeps dropping. I am not declining those calls. I promise you, I'm not declining those calls. So
I wonder if it's poor Chef.
I think it is. Actually, he was just mentioning something to me over in the Mixler chat room. Hi there. Hi, Chef. I don't know if you're driving or what's going on, but I promise I'm not declining the call. So you know what? Let me see if I can't
call him back.
Yeah. See what I can do here.
Watch it not be Chef. If it's
you go
Chef,
ahead.
You have to hang up on him.
I'll just talk to whoever it is. But Ren, all right. So your point being that you were saying earlier.
No, that was it for Vinny Curry. Like I said a little bit, that the interview started off, the press conference started off a little slow, and then as it stretched on, it wasn't very long. It was only like 5 minutes long, but those last little nuggets I thought were some things that I hadn't heard from any other player, or sort of a way to look at certain things about training camp so far. So I wrote them down. I want to pass them along. Rojo's press conference was much more boring.
Now keep talking until Chef answers. Go ahead.
Hello. This is Regis and what is it now? Kelly and Seahorn. This is Kelly and Seahorn.
Seahorn. Seacrest.
Bueller.
Chef, what's up, buddy? Long time no talk, man.
Oh, well, I don't know what the hell's going on your end, but my end's perfectly fine.
I don't know. My end looks okay. I don't know. It's weird computer stuff. But if this is an issue, I'm glad to know about it now and not once we get to the season, because I have a chance to fix it. So I'll definitely look into it. But I don't know. What's on your mind, Chef?
Oh, it's training camp, boys. Season's about to become underway.
We're excited. Woo-woo.
Oh, yeah.
Good stuff, man.
How's it going for you guys tonight, boys?
It's good, like you said, we're excited about, training camp started. Brent's gonna be coming down here. I think what are you leaving tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night, yeah, man.
He'll be leaving tomorrow night. And he's gonna get to my house, and then we're gonna go to training camp on Tuesday and Wednesday, and pretend like we're actual journalists and we went to Northwestern and graduated with degrees.
Congrats on that, by the way. You two deserve that.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It's like I've said before, like Brent was really point man on that, and so I'll look at the congratulations go to him, but I'll definitely take the rewards that come with it. I'll take that. But yeah, and I think, what do you stay until Thursday?
That's the plan,
Brent? Yeah. And then back to training camp. So that's what we're doing.
Come back down on Friday. I'll go home on Thursday and then and come back down on Friday.
No, that's right. Yeah, because we
Yeah.
is that because you're a club member, right? Or is that an open practice?
Both.
Oh, that's right. We have two
Both.
that day.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's what we got planned. So from what you've seen all the way up in the Dakotas, is it north or south? I've forgotten already.
It's north.
North Dakota. From what you've seen, following Twitter, Facebook, and all that
snow
stuff.
melted up there yet, Chef?
Oh, it depends. It's sort of God, Mother Nature is bipolar when it comes to North Dakota, especially. I mean, sometimes we don't get snow until late December, or we get snow as early as late September.
Jeez.
Yeah, that is wackadoodle. Anyway, so what are some questions that you have, like what are you excited to see, or what have you seen so far that you're happy about or unhappy about? Like all the information you get, you have to get it for, like what most of the fans get, it's like on basically on their phone. Like, so how do you think things are going or not going, I guess, so far?
Well, I will say I am very pleased that we are having a physical training camp as compared to last year where there was no physicality whatsoever. That's obviously a positive. And of course, any training camp you're going to get, injuries are going to occur no matter what. So it's like even if you have like less physicality, especially after what we saw last year, having less physicality probably contributes to more injuries than anything, and especially during that Vikings game last year, we saw so much injuries happen all at once. It was like a hospital or that TV show MASH, where you had so many people just go down and just it looked horrendous. So I'm definitely glad that Dirk is putting more physicality into the camps, and Brenson Buckner obviously is probably the star of the coaching staff, of course. And
I gotta tell you, I could just have a camera. I want to hear Brenson Buckner mic'd up always. Like just put a camera on him, put a microphone on him, and then just roll tape, and we'll be good to go. I would love that.
Yeah, I saw him tearing Will Golston a new a-hole. So he sounds like Will Golston didn't have quite a good day today as compared to some of the others.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I forgot to bring that up. Derek Fournier, old school What the Buck, also had made a point of that, and then some more videos were popping out about and it's not only that Golson was getting beat, but he was making the same mistakes he made the day before, and that just doesn't that doesn't bode well. So at least the past 2 days, Golson hasn't really had a good camp. The few times that I watched him on the one-on-one pass drills, I thought he did fine. Like he wasn't a McCoy or a JPP, but he was definitely in sort of that second tier of defensive linemen that were getting by the offensive linemen. But it depends on when you look at the guy. Like I said, What the Buck saw him and was talking about how this guy's getting worked, and it didn't even click in his head that who 92 was. And then he's like, "Oh my God, it's Will Golson." He's like, "Oh geez, that's really bad." And then another video surfaced later about like Aaron said, Chef said that Buckner was just getting into him because he was saying, why are you doing the same mistake you did yesterday? Like, I've showed you once what you're doing wrong. Why are you still doing it? And so he's had a rough couple of days.
Yeah, and it sounds like with JPP being alongside Joe McCoy and all that, it sounds like they're just like you guys were saying, they're unblockable. Like nobody can even you couldn't even put up a roadblock. They'll just demolish it. And if you put like Vinny Curry and Noah Spence, who I am hearing is just wreaking obviously the slogan of the year, wreaking havoc. Just that would be probably one of the best combinations right there between all four of those guys. So I am definitely getting pumped when it comes to watching all these videos and all that stuff. But I hope to God that Noah Spence can finally stay healthy, because I swear he could be an X factor with the speed and power that he has. I would be shocked if he gets close to 10 sacks this year. And have you guys seen anything about Carlton Davis yet?
I saw him today. He actually had a nice pass breakup late in practice. But like as I said earlier, so far, like it seemed like Carlton Davis was the belle of the ball of the OTAs, and then minicamp rolled around. Uh, MJ Stewart started to get a little love, and now with the early part of training camp, it's sort of been all MJ Stewart, which has really been bolstered by Vernon not going because he got spiked and took some stitches and was out. I fully expect Vernon to be back Tuesday, to be honest with you. But then MJ Stewart got to play nickel, and he's taking advantage of his situation. Dirk Cutter said in the presser, which we're going to get to in a minute, but he talked about MJ Stewart, is that he's smart and he picks up the terminology quickly, which is why he looks like he's so far ahead of everybody else. I think he used the adjective swimming. Like the terminology is not swimming in his head. It's already become the second language to him. Where, if someone says what's a Gruden saying, spider 2Y banana, whatever that play is, when you first hear, you're like, okay, spider means this, 2 means that, Y banana, and you're sort of thinking in your head, okay, that's what the play means. Now you're starting to think, this is what I have to do. Okay, this is what I have to do. Then I look at the defensive set, and now you start picking up your blocks. When MJ Stewart hears spider 2Y banana, he's already past all that, and he knows where he needs to be, and he just lines up and starts looking at his keys, the keys he's reading off the offense. So with him like playing outside corner, getting time at outside corner, inside corner, being able to pick up that terminology so quickly is why I think that he's sort of been the guy that's been standing out in the cornerbacks with the cornerbacks.
Because I got to tell you, from the preseason, you'd almost forget that MJ Stewart actually got drafted before Carlton Davis. Like the way we were talking about Carlton Davis and not talking about Stewart during the preseason, you'd almost forget that. So, I don't know. I think Carlton Davis is running with the 2s right now. Ren, is that accurate? Are you?
Yes, he's running with the 2s. Yes.
And has he slid up into doing any kind of reps with the 1s? Maybe like what Rojo has kind of slipped up to, or is he pretty much solid with the 2s right now?
He's solid with the 2s. It's Grimes on one side, and since Vernon's down, it's
Smith.
Ryan Smith, on the other. And then with Grimes down, it's when they go to nickel, instead of Ryan Smith coming in and Vernon sliding in, MJ Stewart slides in a nickel. So Davis is right behind Ryan Smith on that right outside corner spot.
There you go.
That's just that then. Yeah, I just another thing. Is Ryan Smith? Everybody loves. Everybody knows as the Kemper's whipping boy. Is he looking pretty good out there?
He's looking better. Overall, as from what I've gathered, doing these diaries every day when I'm picking up on what everyone's talking about or tweeting about, and then what I saw today, the receivers are kind of having their way with the DBs right now, like early on. It's a back and forth thing. It's like, wow, Mike Evans looks great. He looks unstoppable. Well, then the flip side of that is, well, Ryan Smith can't cover somebody in a wet paper bag, because he's the guy who's getting burnt all the time. I think he looks good. I think his coverage is tight so far. But has it improved from last year? We'll see. They're doing a lot of experimenting early, as in like they're playing Brent Grimes. They're making Brent play press coverage in practice. We all know he plays off. Like that's what he does. That's his thing. But they're making their cornerbacks play press and off, and mixing it up and trying to see what they got.
Maybe I just think maybe Mike Smith isn't going to give them as much of a chance or much of a choice as far as where they play.
Right.
This year.
Could be.
He's going to tell them.
Speaking of Mike Smith, I was listening to the Pewter Nation podcast, and they were talking about the secondary, and I can't remember who said it. I think it was Trevor, but they pointed out, like, if Brent Grimes is the only one that is, like, instinctual, like, because apparently he's the best cornerback on that defense that knows how to play off coverage. If everybody else is better at man-to-man or press coverage, then let them do that and have Brent do what he does best. Because if you're just going to have everybody playing off coverage, the defense is going to look exactly like it's been the last 2 years, and that's just 10-yard slants and then it kills. It's just like, I don't know why Mike Smith can't seem to comprehend that. I understand he's been coaching for 20, 30 years or whatever, but it's just like, it's almost like you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Just let the players do what their natural abilities are, and then you'll have a bigger success rate.
Yeah, right before.
Except for last year, we tried that with Hargraves, and he got killed for it. Let Hargraves play where he wanted to. Well, is Hargraves playing off, or is he playing press, or what? And he got killed. So I don't know. I mean, how much do you? And then I was critical of Mike Smith for not telling Vernon Hargraves, "Hey, get your ass up there on the line." Quit letting if he's getting burned on this, then you coach him and tell him to get up, right?
I can understand if VH3's confidence was shot because after the Vikings game, whose confidence wasn't shot, but you also have to light a fire under your player's ass to tell them you got to get up there. You got to get physical. It's like, that's the problem of last year. These coaches, whatever reason, they kept it was almost babying these players. It's like, this is the NFL. Your players need a swift kick in the ass sometimes. Do it. That's the coach's job, which some people cannot figure out of coaching accountability, what I've been preaching about for months. The coaches need to get on these players' asses to do their jobs. But it seemed like all last year, they just laid back and just let the players do whatever the hell they wanted.
I'm not going to go that far, but I do agree with you that I think that it's been more prevalent in Cutter's reign, I should say, that there's not a lot of they both on the offensive and defensive side of the ball, they appear to be stubborn in their ways. Instead of adjusting, it's almost like instead of adjusting to the players they have, they want the players to adjust to the scheme, which is exact opposite what they both preach. So it's a little head scratching, and I don't want to make it seem like it's like 90% that. It's more for me, what I see, it's more like sort of like 55% of like, hey, this is the way I run my defense, this is the way I run my offense. You're going to run it this way, and then that's like 45% of, okay, this person doesn't fit ideally, can't do all the things I want them to do at that position. So I'm going to have to sort of scale it back or be a little more creative with them to be able to get the production out of them. I think it's real close, but there's more than I would like to see as far as like I guess I don't stubbornness, non-creativity, things, words around, that nature that I'm hoping something like Todd Monken will be bringing to the offense this year.
Yeah, I agree on that part of what you said, and like you're saying, I think a lot of these coaches, I don't know if it's ego or like you said, stubbornness, but it's like, yeah, obviously you would want the players to play to your scheme, but you also have to remember that you have to scheme to their abilities. And I think more often than not, coaches get so into their scheme that they fail to remember that, and that's what cost them big time, especially last year.
Yeah, I think it was definitely a factor. When you throw all the things that went wrong into a blender, and mix it up and pour out a loss. I think that component definitely has to go in there somewhere.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll definitely see what they do. Well, Chef, you got anything else for us, man? Or if not, we'll go ahead and clear the line here and give
just
a
quick
else.
tidbit.
Yeah.
Obviously, the Jameis thing has been run and just touted about to death, but it's like, it's time for us to move on from it. He's going to serve his suspension. He's going to be back after the 4th game. Let's not kid ourselves. Ryan Fitzpatrick's not going to be the quarterback throughout the season. Jameis is going to come back. And what happened 2 years ago. Obviously, no one's condoning it. I'm certainly not. But it happened 2 years ago. We have to remember, not 2 months ago. People are acting like it happened 2 months ago, and it's getting to be tone deaf at this point.
Stay off Twitter, Chef. That'll help you. Yeah, I honestly, to that point, I like you, Chef, was at the point where like I just don't even want to hear about it anymore. I don't want to talk about it anymore. I've said my piece on, about it. And how anybody else wants to feel about it, that's the way you want to feel. But I'm not going to tell you right. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. But I just don't want to talk about it, hear about it anymore. And it has been nice after that first day, which the reporters had to, where they had Jameis and Cutter, and that was just question after question after question after question. After that, the reporters are sort of like they've let the bone go. Now it's back. It's back to
the
football
point where
question.
it's like the same question just asked in like 30 different ways. It's like he's not going to tell you what happened because you would be in like a civil lawsuit. It's like anybody knew that.
Yeah. Agreed.
And, I mean, some of them still kind of put their own things out on Twitter, or they're writing articles here and there. And listen, guys, it's our choice to follow them, to block them, to mute them, or to read or not read the stuff that they put out, or listen to the podcast that they put out. I'm not going to speak for Ren, although I assume Ren probably agrees with me. For as long as Jameis Winston is the quarterback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he's got my support.
Yeah.
And that's just the bottom line of where I am going to be as a fan, and where the Pewtercast, our official stance as a podcast, is as long as Jameis Winston is the quarterback of the Buccaneers, he's got our support. And
because I trust the ownership and the coaching staff to, if it gets to the point where as a fan I can't do that anymore, like I can't morally do that anymore, I really don't think he'll be with the team.
I agree. All right, Chef. Well, thank you so much for calling in tonight, man. And definitely look forward to many more conversations as the season goes on. All right.
All right. Have a good night, guys. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks. Thanks, Chef.
Put a little capstone on that whole conversation. I don't know that we could be any more clear with that, Ren, as far as where we stand. And as you say, people can pick where they want to.
Yeah, I'm not going to die on the hill or argue with you about it. Like if you think that I'm totally blind and dumb and part of the problem, and I'll have a conversation with you about it for sure.
Yeah.
But if you want to come start yelling at me about whatever, just I respect your stance. Just respect mine. You don't have to like it, but don't tell me I'll talk with you about it, but don't yell at me about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, man, it's time for us to wrap up this show. So I think really the last thing we need to hear about is Coach Cutter's press conference. Was there anything that kind of came out of that we need to discuss or go through?
Well, we have Rojo's, but it was very short as far as stuff to talk about. Excuse me. I'm sorry. There we go. You can tell that Rojo came from like a big college program, because a lot of what he says reminded me a lot of what Jameis Winston said when he came out of college, like just trying to get better every day, just trying to improve, just trying to get teammates, just trying to get wins, whatever the coach just says, that's what I'll do. Those are a lot of his answers. So the only thing that I really got out of there was someone asked what the biggest difference from college to pro is, and big shocker, it was pass protection. He said in college, like usually there was like one or two things he had to check, and then by go, I think what he meant was like release out of the backfield, go out into go out into the pattern, and see if the quarterback will dump the ball off to him. And he said there was like one or two things in college. He says now it's like 5 or 6 things I have to check before I can release out into the pattern. And he's also been saying that the quarterbacks, he said this before, the quarterbacks are helping him out, getting him in the right spots in the formations, and kind of telling him where to go. And he's like, because they don't want to get sacked, they don't want to get killed. So it behooves them to be like, hey, Ronald, you know what you're doing this play? Okay. Or hey, line up here. Watch that guy. That's the guy you'll be looking at. So it's coming along slowly for Ronald Jones, and I know everyone's probably a little scared because we saw what happened with Jeremy Nichols last year. Like he didn't, he couldn't get it to the point where if he wasn't a draft pick, they might have cut him. But since he was a draft pick, they tried to bring him back on the practice squad. So that was pretty much all that came out of the Ronald Jones interview. Like I said, it was a lot of just canned cliche stuff that that you just kind of hear players repeat over and over and over again, especially young players. So that brings us to the Dirk Cutter interview. There were 2 players injured today. One was Vita Vea. Did you know that?
I think so.
Okay.
I think I heard about that one. Yeah.
I've seen everything.
Somebody got carted off. I remember hearing about that. Somebody got carted off.
Yeah. Well, they didn't get carted off. They both walked to the sidelines, being Vita Vea, the other one being Leonard Wester, the guy who's been filling in actually for Dot on the 11-11s and 7-7s. Because they don't, Dot's a veteran. He knows what to do. He's coming off a torn meniscus. So, he's been cleared to practice, but they're not really ready to, like,
take risks or anything.
Let him go full bore and get people tangled around his feet just yet. But they both walked to silence. They got carted off as in like they sat in the golf cart and were driven back to the training facility at One Buck.
Okay.
Like that's what quote unquote carted off means. But Dirk didn't really have a lot of information on it. I've seen things on Twitter where it's like a calf muscle pull. I've seen things where, he'll be back in a day or two, or he might miss a week or two. And with Wester, he tried to get up a few times. And it just looked like he got rolled, like someone rolled up on his ankle. It was one of those collisions that Cutter was trying to avoid. I think it was Ronald Jones or Barber, and they were bouncing outside, and he was coming out of his tackle position and trying to get to the second level, and the wide receiver was chasing the cornerback, and sort of like the cornerback to safety, the linebacker Wester and Rojo all at the same time sort of hit the same spot, and Rojo bounced out of it, and then when the pile cleared, there was Leonard Wester laying on the ground. But he hobbled off, and so it's ankle. We'll see. Right. We'll see where that comes.
I mean, let's dive into that just for a minute, because Cole Garner is a name that we keep hearing, that keeps coming up, much to our chagrin. I know, I feel you, man. But I mean, ostensibly as a tackle, Leonard Wester has been the deepest backup tackle we've had for a couple of years now, really. I think on the active roster. Is that really probably the spot that Cole Garner would assume? Like, is that the guy that Cole Garner has to beat to make the actual 53-man roster?
That is a great question, because Greg Auman pretty much asked that question. He goes, now with Wester going down, who was filling in for Dot with the ones, basically he's like, who's next man up? What did Dirk Cutter say? Cole Gardner. So
watch out, Ryan Griffin.
So yeah. So when we go there Tuesday,
is it possible that the curse of Fitzpatrick could be visited finally upon Fitzpatrick himself
because of Cole Gardner? Are you saying Cole Gardner is going to get Fitzpatrick killed?
Maybe the curse of Fitzpatrick becomes the curse of Griffin from here on out. And this follows Griffin for the rest of his career.
The curse of Gryffindor?
All right, Hufflepuff.
No.
Settle down there. Slytherin. You're more Slytherin than anything, ain't you, Ren? I know you. I'm
a mixture of Slytherin and yeah, probably Slytherin. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no mix.
I know there is a mix
right there.
I have a strong, I guess, moral core of fair play, which I don't think Slytherin do. Pretty much everything else, I'm total Slytherin. Like, I make fun of people. I really don't care about people's feelings a lot. Pushing people down the stairs, I find funny. Like, but like, I'm not going to cheat to win. Like, I will not do it, and I'm not going to cheat to get ahead. I'm not going to cheat on my tests.
Yeah, I just Hufflepuff is where everybody else goes. That's what it is.
Where everybody else goes.
Everybody else goes. That's Hufflepuff.
So Gryffindor's brave and Slytherin are cunning, I guess is a nice way to put it. What's
Slytherin are the ambitious ones, actually, is really what it is. Ravenclaw are the wise ones. And then Hufflepuff's everybody else.
And the Hufflepuff's the catch-all.
Yeah. That's what it is. Right, welcome to the Pewtercast, the world's #1 Harry Potter football podcast.
So there's no word on Watson or Vita Vea about what their injuries are. Someone asked Dirk Cutter about Justin Watson, the wide receiver.
For whatever it's worth, they're in that little tirade about talking about Harry Potter. Our viewership actually nearly doubled. So maybe we need to switch topics altogether.
It went from 2 to 3, nearly doubled.
No. We have more than that. We have way more than that. Oh, and see, look, now that we've stopped talking about it, it's gone back down. So anyway,
that was a quick alert. Harry Potter, what? Everyone jumps in. Oh, they quit. We missed it.
Keyword.
The keyword. Okay. All right. This is dragging on long. We're starting to get goofy. Let's get it. All right. So someone asked about Justin Watson. He said he had his best day. But I think I said this earlier, but he has a fight on his hands because of sort of what's in the wide receiver room. But the ball found him today. Like I don't know if it was a conscious effort to feed him the ball to see what they had or the Buccaneers had because of no, he didn't get any chances during OTAs and minicamp. But another encouraging sign, if you're a Justin Watson fan, he's also playing coverage on punt and kick. He's like a gunner and the outside gunner and kickoff as well. So that bodes well for him because, if he's going to make the team, he's going to have to be, a special teamer, a standout special teamer. Next week will be a full crew of officials that will go over the new rules, which are the kickoff rules and the new helmet rules about, dipping your head, crowning your head. Aren't the helmet rules the same as the helmet rules that's been there? But like, are they just? I'm not really sure what changed about the helmet rule. It's just, are they now going to be more stringent on offensive players that dip their head? But anyway, we'll see.
I can't follow the rule changes.
Right. So there's going to be officials in the building all next week at practice, and they're going to go over some tape and film and show, the players about these rules and tell them what's legal and what's not legal. I already talked about MJ Stewart, what Cutter said about how he's smart and picks up the terminology quickly. And we talked about Cole Gardner. Yeah, that's it. That's we sort of got to the last few on Cutter, just by the conversation going organically. So yeah, man, that is it. Yeah. So next time, what are we doing? Are we gonna go live at camp on Tuesday?
We will probably at the very least be recording from One Buck. Okay. Hopefully we'll be in the air conditioning when that happens. Talking about what happened on that day, Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm not really sure. Just kind of we'll play it by ear. We had somebody asking actually in the chat room over on YouTube earlier tonight if we had like set times for when these shows come out, and my response was not right now because like truthfully we are still getting our feet wet with this video format
with a live video.
We're doing live video and all that kind of stuff. So we're testing it out. We've got some new things that we're going to be testing out here over the course of the next week or so. So stay tuned with all of that. But certainly as we get towards the season, we'll lock into a pretty good pattern and we'll know when we're going and you guys will kind of pick up on what that looks like. Because we typically put out 3 to 4 shows a week. Not all of them will be live, or at least I don't think they will be. But who knows what else we may put out. There may be little clips and stuff. So, for those of you guys who are looking for a more set standard schedule, I wish I had one for you right now. That's why go to subscribe, go to YouTube, go to our YouTube channel. You got to search for us, subscribe, click that little bell so that you can just be notified. A notification will come up on your phone or your computer, wherever you are, and say, hey, they're live now. You guys can go check us out. Obviously, we will always be up in the podcast feed as well. So you guys can always check us out there. And thank you for those of you who like, subscribe, and leave comments and reviews on the website. We've actually got a couple of reviews to go through. We're not going to do it tonight, Ren. We've got way too long on this particular episode. So
I blame Chef.
Yeah, thanks. It's all his fault. But with that, Ren, unless you have anything else, we'll figure out what the details are for next week as we go. I think we'll just kind of play it by ear. But with that, any final thoughts, and where can the people find you on the internet?
Best way to find me is always on Twitter because Facebook is dead. At Ren Daxt, REN_DAXT. I'm always down to talk Buccaneers football.
I think Facebook is dead is the next slogan that goes on the back of our t-shirts.
We probably get sued for that.
Possibly. If you'd like you guys to get a hold of me personally, I am at Brent Allen Live across all the social medias except for Snapchat. I don't snap the chat, so don't get me over there. But everybody else, you guys found me out there. Brent Allen Live across all those social medias. And then for the show, you can find us at the Petercast on Twitter, Find us at facebook.com/PeterCast because Facebook isn't dead. And maybe
Debatable.
Facebook
Debatable.
is dead. No, it's not. And if you guys want to shoot us an email to thepewtercast@gmail.com, we'll be sure that we read that on an upcoming episode of the Pewtercast. Once again, we'd like to encourage you guys to go subscribe to our YouTube channel. Help us get up over that 100 mark. That'd be awesome. Also, patreon.com/thepewtercast. Follow us on Twitter, all that kind of fun stuff. And I guess with that, Ren, we'll end the show as always by saying, go Bucks.